Evan Ebel is accused of killing the corrections department chief in Colorado and suspected in the killings in Texas of both the prosecutor and his wife. It's said that he belonged to a gang in prison called 211. How does that play into any of this, if any at all?
These gangs started in the mid to early 1960s. As the prisons desegregated, these gangs formed, basically originally for protection. Then they moved into extortion, homicides, assault. These gangs are very organized, and they do take orders from either inmates inside or former gang members at outside. So it's actually, there could be a conspiracy type connection of him being told what to do or somebody to murder.
So basically he went from just being a very bad guy and doing a lot of bad similar crimes to suddenly going to murder, and not to just murder but mass murder possibly.
Yeah, he went from inside the prison to being a gang member to probably going outside the prison, being a hitman for the 211 crew. Again, that's all speculation. That's a lot of how these prison gangs work.
When he got out of prison early due to an error in bookkeeping, basically, he was on the straight and narrow. He did all the reporting he was asked to do. He wore the ankle bracelet, and then after 3 months or so, he suddenly just went underground. He had spent most of his time in prison in solitary confinement. How did he suddenly hook up outside with people?
These gangs have connections everywhere to former members and associates. And a lot of these gang members are supported by women who, while the husbands or boyfriends or significant other are in prison, they get support from the women. So there's a connection between inside the walls of that prison and to the streets and communities that the persons are released to.
It is said that he belonged to the gang 211, and quoted somewhere along the line as wanting to kill more people than Hitler did. How does that play into this?
The big motive for these gang members is body count. Their motive is to surpass Tim McVeigh's Oklahoma City body count. Some of them, money doesn't matter. It's all body count and how many people they can kill at one time.
Do you think they'll ever, I know they're doing investigations into the actual connection between the Aryan anti-supremacists and Ebel to see if this was a bigger conspiracy. In fact, last night there was at a home in Colorado, or the night before rather, there was a home in Colorado that they tried to attack the prosecutor living in there, but the bad guy was the one who was shot to death.
Yeah, the Aryan Brotherhood actually started in the mid-1960s in San Quentin Prison in California. In the 80s, members started chapters in Arkansas, Colorado, and Texas. Ironically, Colorado is where the person was housed. A lot of these gangs have overlays into one another, especially the white supremacists, the skinhead, sovereign citizens, and the militia gangs. Right now, the federal authorities, along with the Texas Rangers and local authorities in Texas, are looking in the connection, if there is any, between the 211 gang and the Aryan Brotherhood. You have to remember that the Aryan Brotherhood also supports regional gangs like the Aryan Circle and the Nazi lowriders, which are all around the country. So quite probably there is a connection between the 211 crew and the Aryan Brotherhood or one of their partner gangs.
Okay, but we're here in Florida. We're not in Texas, we're not in Colorado, not in California. What concern is this to us?
Well, Florida has the third highest amount of gangs in the United States that are dedicated to hate, right behind Texas, which is number 2, and California is number 1. So you really have to pay attention to these gangs. And when you look at the map statewide, these gangs aren't in one city or one county. They're all around the state of Florida. So I know investigators, both local, again, statewide, and the FBI and other federal agencies continually monitor these gangs because, even though it's a high count in Florida, these gangs migrate along with their members throughout the United States.
If Florida is third on the list, I mean, are there problems here that we need to be more concerned about? Are they out doing things in our neighborhoods here in South Florida at all?
Absolutely. A lot of these gangs are responsible for hate crimes and a hate incident, which is an incident that doesn't reach the level of a misdemeanor or a felony crime. Maybe a cross burning on your own property. It may be hanging a noose from a tree on your own yard. Again, it's not criminal, but it is something that gathers a lot of attention. And a lot of these gangs, that's what they want, a lot of attention. You have to remember, too, that earlier last year in Orlando, 10 suspected white supremacists and domestic militia were investigated for the possibility of conspiracy to commit hate crimes, not only in Orlando, but the surrounding communities. So, you know what? They're here, and they're here to stay.
Do they? Do the religious affiliations, that is the synagogues, churches, and groups like that, have to worry about these groups, or are they, because of the religious, not bothered?
No, the houses of worship, and no matter whether you're Catholic, Protestant, or of the Jewish faith, you have to be on guard because, again, that's a high-profile target, whether it be a hate incident or a hate crime. And they know if they tag a religious institution, the press is going to be out there, they'll gain some notoriety in the newspaper, and maybe move up a little bit level in the hierarchy of the gang. So the churches, religious institutions constantly have to be on guard, whether it be their in-house security or members just being vigilant when they leave or enter the house of worship.
If I was standing here on the street and looking around, is there any way that I could recognize somebody from a tattoo or perhaps something that would let me know that they are a white supremacist?
Absolutely. 99.9% of these gangs have their own tattoos, which are used really to scare and raise havoc in a neighborhood, because an ordinary person sees these tattoos. They're so graphic. It may be a lightning bolt, maybe a SWAT sticker, maybe a swath of blood on the tattoo itself. It's meant to scare the individual looking at it. The prison gangs are a little bit different. They use their tattoos to identify themselves among each other. Again, like the Aryan Brotherhood, the Nazi lowriders, the Aryan Circle. Each tattoo is a little bit different, and it identifies to another inmate, hey, I'm with you, I'm a member of your gang.
I've heard mention of numbers being very unique to these gangs. Can you tell me what those numbers are and what they mean?
Yeah, the most common number is the number of 88. 8 is the 8th letter of the alphabet for H. 88 means Heil Hitler among the gangs. You'll see it on a piece of clothing. You may see it, you think it's a football number, but it's not. It's 88 means Heil Hitler. You may see it on a tattoo, or you may see it on a little flag on a car. But again, in gang terms, white supremacists, skinheads, it means Heil Hitler.
Okay, if I see somebody like that, what kind of action should I take? Should I don't know, run? Should I call 911? What do I do?
It depends on the circumstances. I mean, if you're threatened and you happen to notice a noticeable gang insignia or that number, you really want to take precautions, as you should, against any time you're threatened by a person who wants to do harm to you, rob you, assault you. The best thing is to stay in groups, especially if you're in an area, you know, with a synagogue or church, or you read in the paper that these groups are attacking persons or groups in an area. Your best thing is, each circumstance is different. If you feel threatened, you call 911 and make a report.
How do they support themselves? I mean, it isn't like they go to the bank, pull money out of an ATM, or is that possible for them?
Now, these gangs support themselves criminal acts such as homicide, battery, assault, and now they are really into identity theft, ascertaining a person's identity in prison, using their network outside the prison to go ahead and assume that identity for credit card theft, fraud, and even mortgage fraud. They all do this within the prison.